With John Kelly. John is a personal injury attorney in Phoenix, Arizona. He's agreed to answer some questions that have been asked online related to traumatic brain injuries. John, let's go into the first question. The first question is from Dina. Dina says, my husband was recently in a car accident. He was unconscious for a while after the crash. He just hasn't seemed right since the accident, and I'm wondering if he has some sort of head injury. What are the signs of traumatic brain injuries?
Well, for Dina, I think that it's extremely important if anyone sees that an individual after an accident is not acting normal, like their normal self, if there any kind of confusion, forgetfulness, just doesn't seem like themselves. And I'm not a doctor, so I don't want to tell people I have all the signs and symptoms of a traumatic brain injury, but that's something that we need to get a specialist, get to the hospital initially if that hasn't happened, to make sure that there's no bleeding on the brain. But also, follow-ups to that can be helpful too, to make sure that we're getting all the diagnosis that we need from the doctors that do know all the very specifics of this, to make sure that that we're getting it documented correctly if there is a potential for a case.
Okay, next question was from Ralph. Ralph says, I was boating on the lake when I was struck by another boat that was traveling way too fast. I was thrown from the boat and nearly drowned. Since the accident, I've been having trouble with my memory. While I didn't receive a blow to the head, is it still possible I could be suffering from TBI?
In Ralph's situation, if you don't receive a specific blow to the head, there has been studies that show that just jerking of your body can kind of rattle your brain within your skull and cause TBI. So it's definitely possible. So I do think that Ralph, again, just like Dina, needs to make sure that he's getting to the hospital, getting the treatment, potentially going to the specialists needed who have the experience with diagnosing and treating traumatic brain injury.
All right, next question was from Randy. Randy says, my wife was walking across the street when she was struck by a car. The doctor says she has brain damage. We don't know yet the extent of the problems, but she'll probably be needing continuing care from this point forward. What kind of damages can we expect to collect from the driver of the car that hit her?
Well, if the doctors are saying that she has traumatic brain injury from the accident and it's been, documented properly, there's a huge scale of results that could happen, because it may be a situation where they have kind of post-concussion symptoms that last for 2 or 3 months and then it kind of goes away, or it could be more permanent. So if it's more of a permanency situation where the doctors don't know whether she's going to recover from the accident and those signs and symptoms are just going to remain, those damages could be huge. And typically we run into policy limits from the person that injured them. She may have the ability to extinguish the policy of the person that hit her first and then go back on her underinsured motorist coverage. Typically in Arizona, pedestrians can use that if they're on the streets and hit by a car. And there's also other areas that she may need to look into. The person that hit her may have assets. Technically, she could go after that. But damages can be, in the millions for traumatic brain injury, depending on the severity. Obviously, that's not the norm. Usually people are getting better after, a typical whiplash, but a pedestrian in particular can have very significant brain injury from an accident.
Okay, and the last question we had was Carla. Carla says, I slipped and fell at the store because of a puddle of water that had apparently been there for some time. I hit my head when I fell, but I didn't lose consciousness. An x-ray of my head was taken at the emergency room, but it did not show any obvious damage. Is it still possible that I suffered a brain injury?
Yes, I believe it is, because the hospitals typically, will make sure that you're, you don't have any bleeding on the brain, nothing that's very urgent that they're going to need to keep you overnight to monitor. They're typically, though, when you have traumatic brain injury of any sort, will refer you out to a specialist, or you may need to do that on your own if people are telling you that you're not acting the same, or that you're feeling like you're forgetful and that kind of thing. So again, it's very important to document what you're going through maybe have loved ones and family members or friends take some notes down about what changes they're noticing in you, so that when you do get to a doctor, you can kind of tell them, here's the list of things that I'm going through. The technology behind diagnosing TBI is progressing every day. Doctors are getting better and better at really seeing what the consequences of these injuries are. And personal injury attorneys that are smart are taking advantage of that and making sure that they're getting their clients compensated for those injuries, because they're easy for the insurance company to say, well, it's, you know, nothing that we can see on an x-ray. However, that's not the full story, as everyone, you know, who has gone through any kind of situation like this knows. So it's important to stay on top of that, make sure you document, get to the right professionals. And at my firm, I always make sure that that happens with anyone who's talking about having a potential brain injury.
All right. Well, if you have any other questions for John related to brain injuries, just all you need to do is post them in the comments section below the bottom of the video, and he's agreed to get back to you. Thanks, John.
All right. Thank you, Ryan. You can reach me at Kelly Law Team. The number is 602-283-4122.
Thanks, John.